All right, everyone, we start off today with a slightly funny story, which is that Trump has sort of found his footing again on the issue of the budget and the wall, and right now he is majorly confrontational with the Democrats. People are saying, well, the government's shut down, which is, basically doesn't matter for most intents and purposes. Do you feel any different since the shutdown? If you're a certain kind of government worker, you might, if you, I don't know, walk through national parks a lot, maybe. Otherwise, you probably don't notice a difference. I know I don't. I don't really give a fuck, and I think that most people don't. Trump has stopped giving a damn now, though, and he's saying, well, the shutdown's going to continue until I get the wall funding. It's a reasonable amount. We're going to negotiate. I'm going to get that funding. Then we'll pass a budget. So he's putting the onus on the Democrats and saying, look, you're trying to give me a budget that contains nothing that I want in it. I'm telling you to allocate a very small proportion of federal funding to something that I feel worthy and that people who voted for me want. They're the ones that are hardballing right now, but I'm not going to deal with it. The government can stay shut down. The thing is, the longer it stays shut down, the more likely it is the Democrats end up getting egg on their face. The more likely that Pelosi especially ends up getting the blame. This is why I said that for the Democrats it would arguably be better if they lost the House. They didn't manage to regain it during the midterms. Nancy Pelosi does not work well with others because she is an authoritarian figure, a severe one. Trump is a negotiator. We've seen this already. Criminal justice reform, some of the other things that he's done, backing off on, the illegality of marijuana. On the drug war, he's actually been marginally libertarian, which is very funny. In some ways, obviously not as much as I would like, but to a pragmatic extent, backed off a lot of that. Trump negotiates. He's been doing that for fucking ever. Most of what he's done in the last year has been negotiating and renegotiating trade deals. That's a negotiator. Pelosi's not like that, which is funny because she's a legislative figure. Usually in the legislature, in order for that to work smoothly, people negotiate. The executive is sort of like a more hard-ass stopgap. We've got a total reversal right now. We've got the opposite of like the Jimmy Carter era or something where Trump's like, yeah, let's make a deal. Hey, give me the funding. What do you want in return for it? You want an extra couple billion for some fucking wedge issue welfare program? You'll have it. You want a small group of people to be legalized, or you want some veterans to be allowed in the country? Yeah, fine. Give me the wall funding. That's where we start. He's already given them some of what they want, and he's already gotten some of what he wants as well. This is the next step, and they're trying to stand in the way. Now, here's why I don't think Trump takes a hit from this. I really don't. I don't think the government... Number one, people have been desensitized towards shutdowns. Remember the first one in the Obama era? People were freaking out. Like it was like Y2K or something. They're like, oh my God, the government goes away. It'll be anarchy. There'll be riots in the streets and civil war and we'll get invaded by China. It's nothing of that sort happened. And then the next shutdown, it's sort of like, it started to get a little bit odd. People are like, come on, just fucking work together. At this point, people are more bitter and they don't care anymore because they've seen enough shutdowns, I think, that they know that it's not catastrophic for the average American. It's not going to destroy, our country to have the government shut down in order to secure some wall funding. By the way, Amash, it was brought to my attention, voted against actually funding the wall. I think he did that for fiscal reasons as opposed to politically pragmatic reasons. I don't think he cares so much in principle. It's just he doesn't want to spend any money. You can make that, we do need spending cuts in general. I think that border security is one of the few things we need to up in the budget as opposed to decreasing at the moment. I don't think Trump takes a hit, and here's why. Here's Trump's coalition. Think about who supports him. The 40 to 45%. It varies day to day, poll to poll. Somewhere in that region is his true support total. The MAGA hat wearing super Trump fans, which are not all partisan Republicans at all. In fact, I would argue many of them are independent voters. They love Trump. They want the wall. They really want the wall. In fact, they'll bite him in the ass if he doesn't give them some wall building. So they're not going to be turned off by this. They're totally on board. 100% of them will keep supporting him. You've got the marginally libertarian types, which other than the monetary side of it, I think generally have come around to the idea that some border security is necessary. You have certain Rust Belt voters. They're one of the reasons that they left the Democrats to cross lines and vote for Trump specifically is because the Democrats got away from economic populism and basically turned a blind eye to their plight. They're not a friend to having tens of millions of illegal immigrants in the country. They see that as a problem. Now, it's not always the case that that's actually the root of their economic woes. A lot of it is trade-related, which Trump is similarly tackling. Why do you think those are his two big focuses? He knows he can put Pennsylvania, Michigan, certainly solidify Ohio and Indiana, some of those states, possibly put Minnesota, certainly Wisconsin, into the Republican basket for an entire generation. All he has to do is solve some of their economic problems. You got states that are essentially now kind of swing state looking. All you need is maybe, 1 million voters spread throughout that whole region to sort of dedicate themselves to being Republicans. You got 10 to 20 years of solid voting right there. It'd be very difficult for the Democrats to break through basically that red line during the next election. That's what Trump's ultimate strategy has been. On the economy, he's made good headway. Stocks slide backwards. Every other marker is still positive, so that's good. On trade, he's generally winning. On immigration, though, there is that populist element that blames the foreigner, generically speaking, for their economic problems. Now, that's generally not the case. In all honesty, like, the left is right when they say that. It's definitely, it has negative economic impacts, but it's not like your factory shut down because a couple of illegals moved in. That's not what happened. Ultimately, is for the Rust Belt, for that general part of the country, that was set up as a major trading center that started to dry up as it became more efficient to move it to the coasts. That's what it's about. That and strangulations by regulation on some of that heavier industry there, as well as the agricultural sector. Trump is trying to solve for the last two. He can't do anything about the first part, but he can take care of the second and third. If he can do that, you get hundreds of thousands of new jobs, whole areas Republican for the next 20 years. I don't think that any of those people are going to care about the fact that the government is temporarily shut down because Trump has stuck to his guns and is attempting to deliver a major campaign promise, nay, possibly his most important campaign promise. It was the wall. We're going to have a big, beautiful wall. Mexico will pay for it, blah, blah, blah. We'll get it done. It'll be wonderful, and it'll come in under budget, and we'll do it quicker than anticipated time and all that. Now, some of those platitudes were always going to be hyperbole. I don't care if Mexico pays for the wall, by the way. I don't really give a fuck. Again, hyperbolic. We do need border security, though, and it's that hyperbole that shot that into #1 issue of the election. Trump did that on purpose. It doesn't matter, ultimately, who pays for the wall. There are people who seriously want to crowdfund the southern border wall, which also is not going to happen. It's very interesting to watch this. I think Pelosi and the Democrats, at some point, may have no choice to back down. Pelosi won't. She won't want to. Eventually, she is going to face at least some murmurs from within her own party. Hey, if she's not capable of negotiating this, she's keeping the budget, off the table, government stays shut down for an extended period, we're going to start taking attrition. Trump can't take any. His coalition is too hardened. Most of that support will remain with Trump through the next election and through a potential second term. That, again, 40 to 45%. It is a high floor, not a low ceiling. I warned the Democrats of that during the last election. None of them thought it was true. It turned out to be true. The polling was wrong. People do want the wall. Now, they don't want, like, every aspect of right-wing immigration reform. We're going to deport everyone, ethnic litmus tests, e-verify, borders, I'm going to have a 100-foot wall on the border. That's hyperbolic. But they do want the problem fundamentally solved. Ronald Reagan's son's coming out telling Trump basically what needs to be done. It may come down to Trump offering amnesty to certain groups of people in exchange for comprehensive wall rebuilding. That would be fine. I don't think that the average MAGA hat wearer would care. Ultimately, it boils down to an economic civic argument over, hey, are we going to have a country in the purest sense anyway, or are we going to let this problem sit there and metastasize generation after generation, keep ignoring it until it becomes so difficult to deal with that it's impossible? The only result then is basically you can't fix it anymore. It becomes a perennial issue. That's about all. Peace out.